evening, folks. Welcome to Daly's Pub. Today is Saturday, May the 17th. You with your host, the Stack Wit Nat Show. I'm Corey National Johnson. This is Edward Smokestack Scott. Here again to bring you the latest news in
very
latest, right? In electric football in the Philly area. You know, as you can see, I got my TutorCon shirt on. I want to give a shout out to Doug Strom, owner of Tutor Games, who's here in Philly with his convention.
Shameless plug.
Hopefully he'll come back here next year. But enough of that, folks. This weekend is the last weekend of the NEFL season. We are also 1 week away from the NEFL playoffs and first ever Super Bowl. So without further ado, I'm going to get into the day's recaps of scores here. And flip this over wherever I got it at, Ed. You know, you was here, Ed, and you saw a lot of the action going on today.
Oh yeah.
And
I can talk to that.
right, I was working, folks, so you know I had to pay the bills. All right, in the NEFL, we had guys playing for their lives. We had the Arizona Cardinals, coached by Kareem Campbell, come into town. He beat the previously unbeaten Patriots, coached by Jerry Fulton, 16-7. Game ended on a quarterback sack of a safety, which game 16, Jerry had enough. Also earlier in the day, Will Travers was in town. And we said another show how long we know Will. Will's a great guy, long time. Will came in with his Oakland Raiders and defeated Ed Roche and the Panthers 28-14. In the other NEFL game, we had Chris Stringer from Maryland, his Seattle Seahawks 31 over Buford and his Cleveland Browns 31-28. So that really set the wheels turning in the NEFL. Let me go through my papers real quick. And what we got now, we have one more game in the NEFL tomorrow of substantial importance. I think it's Ed Roche versus Jerry Fulton. Okay? If Jerry wins that game, Jerry is in the playoffs. If Ed Roche wins that game, Chris is in the playoffs. So that game, Will is in. At 7-1, Will Travers has stamped his ticket in the first ever NEFL playoffs. He will be here next Sunday, to
We're
play that game.
talking top two in the conference.
Each two, right. And this is the Liberty Conference.
What about the other conference?
The other conference is pretty much set. There's one more game to be played. Kareem has to play Ed Roche. But I think Ed Roche is pretty much done. Even if he wins the game, I don't think he can. I don't think he can catch.
Jerry.
Ed Roche plays Kareem, right?
Okay.
Doesn't he? Or Ed Roche? No. Yeah, he got. Matter of fact, yeah, I think Ed Roche plays Jerry. But anyway, if Jerry wins, Jerry is in. If he loses, Chris is in. So, on the other side, the Freedom Conference, Kareem is in, and he's going to play Jack Thomas. The Freedom is already set, really.
He won today, and that could make him 7-1.
No, he still has one game left. Kareem is 6-1. I think he has one more game. Kareem is in, Jack is in, because Jack Thomas,
he's still in?
coach of the Broncos. He finished early at 5-3. The other teams in that conference, the Freedom Conference, all have 4 more losses. So they're basically
That's
out. Lorenzo and Buford. So that was really it. So
Eagles.
yeah. So Kareem is playing Jack. It's going to be Jack at Kareem. Okay? In the Freedom Championship. In Liberty, it's going to be one of these guys, Jerry or Chris, at Will Travers. Now, if Jerry wins, Will be second seed to Jerry because Jerry beat him already. So if Jerry wins, Jerry will be the number 1 seed in the Liberty, and Will be coming to his board. If Jerry loses, Chris is in, and Chris will be going to Will.
If
in the
Ed
championship.
wins the game, that only makes him 6-2.
It'll make him 7. If he wins the game, it'll make him 6-2.
So how is that going to be better than 7-1?
It won't. I'm
Okay.
telling you, that's it. Ed Roche is out.
And if he beats Jerry, Jerry will be 6-2, and who would advance?
Chris would, because Chris is done at 7-1.
Oh, so
Yeah.
if Ed wins, Chris is in the driver's
Right.
seat.
Chris is in. Right. So
Okay.
that's, you know,
But he's not in right now.
not in. We got one more game, folks. So like I said, for you at home looking, NEFL coaches, is going to be Jack Thomas at Kareem Campbell in the Freedom Conference Championship. In the Liberty, we have Jerry playing Ed Roche to decide who's the other team. Will Travers is in. 1 and 2 seed, we still haven't decided yet. So that, you know, those are some exciting games today. And you saw a bunch of the NEFL games. What are your thoughts on the NEFL games?
Just speaking about what I saw today, and I have quite a few videos. Maybe we'll be able to put them into today's show. But I saw the 2 NEFL games today over at the Mayfair Center. Oakland and Raiders with Will Travers and Ed Roach, Carolina Panthers. It was a tight game. Roach closed the score. It was 21-7. Roach came back, made it 21-14, opted to go for an onside kick, and the strangest thing I've ever saw in my life, maybe I can ask you about it, Corey. We set the clock for the 3 seconds. Ed's kicking off on an onside kick. Ball goes the requisite 10 yards. We start the 3 seconds. Both players hit the ball simultaneously.
Right.
So we stopped Joe's game. They came over. We looked at the rules. I said it's either going to be a coin flip or kick it over.
No.
We checked the rules again. We decided to do
Coin.
coin flip, and we left it up to those guys. So then the question was, who's offense, who's defense, who's heads, who's tails?
Right.
So Will flipped the coin. He said, "I'll call it in the air,"
Right.
which solved that mystery. Will got wanted to toss, kept the ball because now time is waning
Right.
down, and was able to get a few first downs. Game over. But it was a great game, and it hinged on that
play. See, to my knowledge, I think if it was a tie,
It's not in the rules specifically.
It would
wasn't
go.
a tie, it was simultaneous.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Tie simultaneous, both hit.
Tie
it
goes
it
to-
goes to the receiving team.
Which would
Same
be
thing.
which would have been Will.
What would have been Will?
And he got the flip
Right.
anyway.
Same
So
same thing that would happen if.
I didn't really think it was simultaneous. I thought actually Ed's guy got there a little earlier, but since I wasn't the ref,
Right.
I couldn't call it.
And your eyes are bad.
They're right.
Okay.
But that's why I offered up to either
Right.
flip it or
Flipping
kick
it
over.
wasn't a bad choice, but something like that where it's simultaneous goes to the receiving team.
Well, and then we need
Just-
to write that into the
Yes,
rules, it
because
wasn't- it wasn't-
that's my thought. Because the same thing happens if nobody recovers it. The receiving team recovers it. So same thing
No,
with
if no one
something.
recovers it after the 3 seconds, the rule states you then can
Determine it. And then if nobody hits it, then after 3 seconds, it's awarded to the receiving
It
team.
might, that part might be in the rules.
It's in
The
there.
other-
It's in there.
The other game I saw was NEFL game was Seattle and Cleveland, and
Chris and
we
Buford.
talked about Chris. Chris likes to, be very vocal, and I think he had Buford intimidated. But you can only keep an old KG veteran like Buford down so long. At one point, it was 28-21. Buford got a fumble, and I think he really clawed back, and he almost had a chance to win that game.
Right.
Chris pulled it out.
Cool.
Credit to him. He's got a couple forfeits in those wins. Remember, Chris came on late
Right.
as a fill-in, and had to take Seattle.
Right, but everybody got 4.
And everyone's got
Everybody,
forfeit. I'm not
everybody.
saying diminish his record at all. I mean, he came on the last 4 or 5 games.
Oh, yeah,
It's
hustled
really,
and got his
really
games in.
established himself. So
As
as
a
you heard,
force.
exactly, as you heard Corey say at the outset, there's still an opportunity for him to claw back into that championship round. Because I talked to him right before he left. He was a little dejected, wondering how he's being left at home at 7-1. But what we didn't consider was Ed has another game
Right.
against Kareem.
Right.
So
7-1 might not do it. I mean,
exactly. And Kareem took care of business today.
like I said, if Jerry wins, Jerry's 7-1.
Yeah, Ed and Jerry. I'm sorry.
Right. So Chris lost the will at 7-1. He would be knocked out.
Right.
And then the game he would finish 7-1 with Jerry. They never played each other, but the common opponent, Jerry has the advantage over.
Right.
You know, over.
But head-to-head against Will, he lost against Will.
Right.
So that leaves him out.
Right. That would be the common opponent.
But
Jerry
there's no
beat
way
Will.
Ed can get in.
No, not at 5-2. Right.
Even if he wins.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's playing for pride.
Right.
So that sums up the NEFL. And where do we go? When would the actual conference championships happen?
Well, for the NEFL, we're going to be here, like I said earlier when we opened up the show. We'll be here on Sunday, right here at Daly's Pub, 4201 Comley Street, the corner of Harbison and Comley. Great place when you say that.
Outstanding.
Smokestack. Yeah, great place. So we'll be here Sunday, I think that's May 25th, Memorial. You know, some people might be, usually people barbecue on Saturday, they might barbecue on Monday. Sunday was kind of open. So like I said, we'll have the 2 conference championships.
May 25th.
May 25th,
This
Sunday.
coming Sunday.
Right. So it'll be 2 games going on, and then those winners will play on the Super Bowl board. I got to get that board over to Harold. It's the same Super Bowl that the NEFL uses. Make sure it's fine-tuned,
Different
wiped
cover?
down. No, same cover. Everything's the same. It's NEFL is NEFL's. You know, it's our initial.
So what do you know? Just in looking back at what happened, I know we had some unfortunate situations. Guys maybe bit off a little bit more than they could chew. A couple guys had to drop out, but you know, it's 12, 14 teams. Did finish the season. You had to establish playoff rules before you knew how many people were really all in. So a lot of people wonder, you know, why did they have, 3 teams make it, have a wild card team? But at the time you're setting it up and trying to fit it over the calendar, there's no way you could have known that we would have got up to 14 teams, that the core group, 10, 12 guys, would have actually finished and some dropped out. So,
well, it was 14 to start. You know, you didn't want the NEFL running into the NEFL and vice versa. So when I looked at the calendar, the one weekend, not to rush nobody, 2 games to play, and that, just the 2 championships and then the Super Bowl on Memorial Day weekend was a weekend just set aside for nothing. That's perfect for the NEFL. All the emails I felt like New Edition, that old song "Cool It Now."
so the Super Bowl will be that same day, or?
Yes, one and done. You play. It would be like if me and you were playing in one conference, we would play each other, and we had 2 other coaches playing in the other conference.
Game's over?
Game's over. Take your rest. Come sit with us. The Stack Wit Nat Show, NEFL Super Bowl interview.
Pre-game.
Pre-game, right. We're going to be here live, pre-game, interview these guys while one guy's practicing on the board.
And then,
let me finish. One guy's practicing on the board. We're interviewing one coach. He goes over, he practices, run his men on the board. We talk to the other coach. And like I said, the emails came out. It was a bunch of emails this week. Feathers get ruffled, manes get rose up. So everybody's jockeying for position. Like I said, New Edition, cool it now, settle down. We got.
So what I'm hearing is it was logistics, timing, and then when you really.
You can't change it. We had it set.
Wasn't suggesting that you change it. I'm just offering the other opinion. I'm trying to understand the thinking process. But then when you really sit back and you unstrip the onion, 5-3 in a relatively small division isn't really worthy of being in the playoffs.
No, everybody that play is worthy. I'm not even saying it. Some guys wanted to say, let's put another team in. Let's make it 3 teams in. Okay, how can you play 3 games in one weekend?
Right.
Okay, when I put the thing out, here's what we're going to do. 2 conferences, 8 games, top 2 make the playoffs. That was put out there.
I get that.
Now, you read that, you see that, you say, I don't like it. I'll sit out. Okay. You see it, here's my dues, I'm in. Then you can't wait till a week before it starts and say, well, why can't we have 3 teams in?
No, I agree.
You can't change it.
When you really sit back and look at it, the very best teams did rise up.
Yes,
we're going to have a
some
competitive series.
Right.
Had some surprises.
Right.
Some would argue that Jack, at 5-3, but Jack survived over other opponents in his conference. That is a respectable record.
Yeah, well, other guys got 4 losses.
Exactly.
And they played the same game, basically.
Exactly.
No, This is a long season. Both leagues play a long season. You know, here in Philly, we started this season, we had winter coats on. We had our boots on, we had our thermals. Today I'm sitting here in a t-shirt, basketball shorts, and flip-flops. You go from the winter right into the summer.
Tells you something.
It tells you something. It's a long grind. It is not a sprint, it's a marathon.
So if the playoff were as follows, the conference winners, who would you select, Kareem over Jack? Just off the top of your head.
Oh, I'm going with Kareem. Kareem looks stride.
And
I
if
think
it was
Kareem would be
Will is
favored.
hitting his stride, and let's say it was Will and Jerry.
Well, Jerry beat Will pretty convincingly, but if Will's been kind of hot, I'm gonna go with Will against Jerry.
Wow. Okay.
But if it's Chris that sneaks in there against Will,
right.
I think I'm gonna go with Chris
Over Will.
over Will, which would set up a battle between Chris and Kareem.
So by Jerry losing against Ed, that would make Jerry 6-2, and Ed would be 6-2.
But Chris would be 7-1.
That
Chris
trumps
would go
exactly.
Right. Yeah.
So that's the only scenario where Chris could get in.
Yeah, Jerry needs to lose.
And if that were to happen, you said if Chris would be against Will, you would take Chris.
Yeah.
Okay.
On the road against Will. Will be Will's
And that would set
homeboy.
up Chris and Kareem.
Big matchup. They never played each other. That would be a great game.
It'd be worth another show to talk about.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
So that wraps up the NEFL, folks. We're going to come back with the NEFL scenario. We're going to take a break, let our producer extraordinaire, Damon Lucas, do his thing with the, do what he do for you to hate. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back, folks. All right, folks, welcome back to the show. Your host, Corey National Johnson. This is Edward Smokestack Scott, here back at Daly's Pub again. And we just watched the Preakness downstairs, California Chrome. 2 of the 3 of the Triple Crown. That horse is something else. Then we got the NBA playoffs. They're down to the Final Four. We were earlier talking about our Final Four NBA playoffs. All the top seeds. Heat versus Pacers. That's 1-2. Spurs versus OKC. I think that's also 1 seed versus 2 seed. So like I say, in the world of sports, a lot going on, except here in Philly. Our fighting Phils ain't got much fighting on
Not
right
much
now.
fight. Not even playing 500 ball.
Yeah, so we'll get on to that. All right, folks, we had a busy, well, not a busy day in the NFL, but what was important was Darrell got the coaches together in Maryland. They met up in Laurel at the bowling alley to knock out some very, very important games that had serious consequences in this NFL season 2014. We had the Bears, coached by Keith Chalmers, versus the Raiders, coached by Adrian Baxter. 2 of the biggest winners in our sport of electric football going at it. These 2 faced off in the Final Four of the Capital City Clash. Adrian destroyed Keith. But like I said to people, in this rule set, I think Keith has an advantage. Keith beat Adrian in one of our Super Bowls a couple years back. Those 2 faced off. And once again, Keith Chalmers and his Bears defeated Adrian Baxter and the Raiders 14-7. In another game, Kelvin Lomax versus Darrell Brevard. Both coaches playing for their playoff lives. Kelvin pulled it out. The Titans 21 over the Lions 14. Huge blow to Darrell. Darrell came back with another game, a must-win game against Keith and the Bears. Big-time game. The score was at 7-0.5. Lions up. That would be your final score for that game. 7-0 Bears. Darrell gets the win.
7-0 Lions.
I'm sorry. 7-0 Lions. Thank you, Stack. 7-0 Lions. Those guys met up at the bowling alley. Will Chalmers, who is working now, had to forfeit the game he had set up with Darrell because he couldn't make it. There was no other time they could play it. Darrell finishes the season at 10-6. Also with Ephraim, who finished 10-6. We're gonna get into all that stuff later. We didn't have no NEFL games today here in Philly. Tomorrow we have a couple.
We had Joe and Al.
That's right. I'm sorry. I didn't have that. There we go. Stack corrected me. Like I say, folks, National was out working. Stack was on the videos, the camera, doing what he do. A big, huge game. Joe Greco and the Giants playing his division nemesis, Al Harvey, the Cowboys. Joe was in a must-win situation. He had to win to keep his whole playoff hopes alive. He pulls out that unbelievable win at home, 38-35, to keep his playoff hopes alive. Stack, I'm just going to get your input on the 3 games that took place in Maryland and the one here in Philly. And then I'll just go in later into the playoff scenarios.
Sure, I'll be quick with it because, like I said, there was only 3 games in Maryland, which really kind of set the table for us, and then 1 game here in Philly. Now next Friday there'll be Damon's coming in, needs to play Kenny.
Two Fridays from now.
2 Fridays from now, and that's the only kind of departure from the NEFL season, essentially over. So right. I'll talk a little bit about the games in Maryland. I wasn't there, so I'm only looking from an observer's standpoint. I think Corey really hit it well. I mean, he talked a little bit about Keith Chalmers, incredible playing record over the years. Many years. We've known him well over 10 years. We've seen him on many national stages.
Yeah, big stages.
Obviously it was a tough game, 14-7. Some would think, maybe Adrian was not overlooking the game, but maybe he was working on some things, getting ready for the playoffs. So he pretty much knew he was in the category.
No, he didn't. That's the funny thing. He kept texting me, am I in? I lost. He was like, He texted me, he's like, I had that guy. He was like, he got me. He had a chance to win it. And they were all texting. And everybody, to a man was, am I in? Who's in? You don't know. That's why we do this show.
You're going to find out in a few minutes.
So
let Stack finish going through his observations of the game, because I know that's really what you're here and watching the show for. And trust me, folks, we're going to go into this in depth. You're not going to miss a thing. Next game was Tennessee over Detroit. I'm not surprised by this. Wiley, KG veteran, Calvin Lomax. He's got an X and an O in his name for a reason, his last name. He pulls out a win 21-14 over Darrell. Darrell might be overlooking him, but that game, in my mind, was significant because it's really a prelude into the playoffs. How well you play going in usually is an indicator of how well you're going to do when you're in there. And then he pulls out a big win over Keith Chalmers.
He needed that one.
Absolutely. So
just to make it interesting.
Yeah, it had to be a good time in Maryland. It's unfortunate about Will, but as most adults learn, as you get older, you have to make decisions about what's important, what you value. And it's a sign of maturity. And then here in Philadelphia at the Mayfair Center early this morning, I had an opportunity. We had 2 NEFL games, which we touched on earlier. This one was a big one. Joe was playing for the opportunity to get into the playoffs, and he knew it was all on the table. He hadn't beaten Al. I think he might have split with him last year. He split with
last year. He won the last game again. Right. So it's both years back to back.
But Al has been firing on all cylinders. And I'll just be very quick. At one point it was 7-0. Joe was up. They tied it up. It was 7-7. Next thing you know, Joe's up 21-7. And I remember talking to Al. I said, "Are you concerned?" He said, "Well, it's still early in the game," and it was. I had to go away because I was taping the video on other games. When I came back to the game, it was 28, 35, 28, something like that.
Right.
Talk about a great game. I got great video on it. 2 great coaches, great talent going at it. Joe had retooled his offensive line. He got new posts on the offensive line.
No way.
Oh, yeah, 300-pound lineman. And that helped him. His run game, I saw 2 70-yard runs right up the middle of Al's line on a quarterback keeper. So, you know, Al told me later that he had been working on some things, and I believe that. Al is just working out some kinks in his defense, trying new schemes, getting ready for the playoffs. And folks, let me tell you, when Corey gets through his, and this is really the final regular season,
there's a couple things.
That might, you know, really can come through an email. But essentially, what you're watching now, folks, is a prelude
The
to
playoff,
the NEFL
the playoff kick,
Playoffs.
Playoffs.
Are coming. Playoffs.
Who's that? Jim Moore Jr.
Yeah, it was.
Or senior? One of them. Playoffs. Playoffs.
A lot of guys want to know what's going on, so I'm going to shut up. I'm going to let Corey talk about it, but just so you understand, in the NEFL, 32 teams, only
12.
top 12 from each conference make it in.
Right, and we did our power rankings. The 16. You know,
we did that earlier this week.
Early this week, we updated.
Any surprises?
Well, not really. Damon can shoot that up to you guys, our power rankings, and hold that up there for a minute. We both had William at number 3, but
what was his final schedule with all the?
Well, we ain't going to get in there. We just had.
But I mean,
our top 3 was the same. Creasy, Al, and William was our top 3, and then from there on out, we all changed. We went different, and hopefully on the screen, you guys can see my 16 against Stack 16, and go from there. While you're watching that, we're gonna get into the actual playoffs. Stack, I'm gonna let you say. You want to start with the AFC. A, the first letter in the alphabet. We'll start with the AFC, which is still has to be decided.
Kind of fluid.
But, yes. One thing without question is the number 1 seed overall. Creasy, undefeated.
Hasn't changed.
Hasn't changed. 16-0, he finishes. Number 2 seed depends on when Damon comes into Philly in 2 weeks. He's going to play Kenny King in the basement.
That's the Friday before our playoffs.
That's the Friday before. The winner of that game will be the number 2 seed and have a bye. The loser will be the number 3 seed.
Still in the playoffs.
Still in the playoffs, but now they have to play a wild card team.
Doesn't Damon still have to play Harold?
Well, I don't know. I mean, that game really don't.
Well, yeah, it's Harold's back. If he feels up to it, they'll play as gentlemen. If he doesn't feel up to it, or he decides to forfeit,
Harold hasn't played.
Still won't be material to the standings or the rankings.
No, I'm not holding that game. I want to see Kenny versus Damon,
and we'll be there.
And that's the game
with video.
With video, yeah. So that's the game. That's the game. That's going to dictate who's 2, who's 3. Okay. Number 4 is Ernie Grice and the Steelers.
Well,
Ernie Grice is number
1 through 3. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Number 2 and 3 is going to be either Kenny or Damon.
One or the other.
Yeah. Whoever wins. Whoever wins the game. Number 4 is Ernie Grice and Pittsburgh Steelers. Number 5, he took a loss today, but Adrian Baxter.
Why was he concerned? Was his record?
Well, he wasn't sure. Yeah, I mean, he's a competitor. He lost.
Kenny.
Right, he lost. He didn't know.
Yeah.
Adrian, he doesn't really follow too much.
Let us be the first to tell you.
Yeah, you win, Adrian. So you made it as a 5th seed.
Life goes on.
The number 6 seed, Will, can kind of back in the door. He's out. Will Chalmers is out of the playoffs. Tomorrow we have a game. The Cincinnati Bengals, coached by Norris McCray, versus Steve Emerson and the Baltimore Ravens. I don't think Steve has won a game on the field all season. Tomorrow he can shake up the things. If he beats Norris McCraw, Norris is out, William is in.
Wow.
If Norris wins this game, he's the 6th seed.
Anybody else on the fringe beyond them?
No, Lomax will be the next in line under Will
7 wins or 8 losses? 7 losses?
No, those guys all got 10 wins. Those guys all got 10 wins.
Lomax has 10 wins?
Yeah, he would have 10 wins or not. Yeah,
so Lomax would be the kind of...
Behind William, it would be Lomax, William, and then Norris. Norris just has to win and get in.
Gotcha.
The playoff would be...
Rankings.
Number 6 seed Norris would travel either Kenny or Damon, depending on who wins.
Okay.
The other matchup, Adrian Baxter travels to Ernie Grice in the other wild card game.
1 or 2 sit it out for a round.
And 1 and 2. And Creasy, of course, will have the lowest seed coming to play him. And Kenny or Damon, whatever wins, would have the next guy. So, folks, there's your AFC playoff picture right there. 2 big games coming up tomorrow. Norris has to win to get in. And in another week, Damon flies in or drives in from Detroit. He told me he's bringing his coaching staff with him. I don't know what that could be. Also, breaking news, Ed. A couple weeks ago, you found out you was housing him. Flash. Brian Healy, coach of the Falcons, who, because of personal reasons, couldn't finish the season. He's gonna pull him up.
Damon and the coaching staff.
And his coaching staff. I don't know who the coach is.
Translation, tweak my bases for next season.
Right, I don't know who. So Damon's coming with help from Detroit. That's great. We love the support and the love. So that's going to be interesting in the AFC.
I just want to congratulate everyone in the AFC.
Right, that made the playoffs.
Especially Norris, McGraw. He
ain't in yet. He ain't in yet.
Well, he's got a game tomorrow. That's a winnable game. He was concerned. And Adrian, worries are over. You've played well all season. We expect you to continue playing well moving forward. Everybody else is pretty much the Friday night game. I'm looking forward to this Friday, 2 Fridays from now.
Right, 2 Fridays.
Kenny against Damon should be a great game.
Great game. How do you like that top 6 in the AFC?
Is what it is. I don't see any surprises. It's what it is.
Creasy got a pretty good shot, right, to go back in the Super Bowl.
Absolutely. When you've got the number 1 or 2 seed, as you yourself have over in the NFC. If you have that seeding, you're basically sitting in a catbird seat. Yeah. It's an enviable position to be in, but unenviable when you're sitting out while someone else is playing, and then you've got to kind of get revved up for that level of competition.
Right. Well, you just stole my thunder in the NFC.
A little bit. There's other people. There's more thunder to come. Trust me.
You stole the main thunder. Anyway, also tomorrow, the game people they say they want to see, Seattle 49ers.
So the outcome of that game, is it going to change the season?
No.
Okay. Is it going to change who won the conference?
No.
Who's the wild card?
It's just bragging rights.
Okay. So there's no real secret there.
Well, no. I mean, the game is a game. It's 2 of the best teams in the NFC going at it.
So you getting number 2 seed has nothing to do with that game?
No.
Okay.
No.
Right.
So in the NFC, even though he lost today, Al Harvey retains the number 1 seed.
I think he finished 14-2?
2, yeah.
That's a very respectable record.
The 49ers, they have 2 losses right now. So even if they beat the Seahawks and finish with 2 losses, the Niners lost to the Cowboys head-to-head earlier in the season.
So
you can't get the number 1 seed.
Right.
Niners are locked in. Can't fall down below the Bears, who went 1-1 today, on the field to wrap up the 3 seed. Number 4 seed, very, very interesting. His last game, he lost to Joe Greco, the Saints, Ephraim. His last game, he's supposed to play the Panthers. James Nicholson sent out the email. He couldn't make it that scheduled game. He gave him the forfeit. So
had he played that and lost, he would have had 7 losses. He would be out altogether.
Been out.
So James really did him a solid.
By
forfeit.
Right, but did you think James had a chance to beat him?
You never know what could happen. Against Ephraim?
Stop it.
Never know.
What?
I beat him.
Who?
Ephraim.
Nicholson lost to Hugh Moore. 28-0. Okay. Come on. Nicholson wasn't beaten, and I love Nicholson. Nicholson is,
Great
my
guy.
boy, They always say, why Stack always sits on the same side? Stack is my right-hand man. I'm a lefty. Somebody come up here talking about, you talking bad about us on the Stack Wit Nat Show, I'm going to hit him with a left. I got my left free. Nicholson's my boy, but no way he's beating Ephraim.
Fair point.
All right?
Fair point.
So in the NFC, in the last division winner was Ephraim Daniels.
10-6.
10-6. Even with tomorrow's game, it won't change. Jamie Harris and the Seahawks
Number 5 seed.
locked in at 5. And then, hey, give me a drum roll. The number 6 seed. I had to go into the annals of tiebreaker heaven. It came down to Joe Greco and Darrell. First tiebreaker is head-to-head. Well, guess what? They didn't play each other this year.
Okay, then what do you do? Are we using NEFL rules, or you have to go to NFL?
NFL.
Okay.
Trumps everything. We always go NFL.
Okay.
I Googled iPad Air. I went on.
It's 26 pages just around playoff scenarios.
Boom. Just type it in. Google NFL tiebreaker.
Okay. So walk us through.
Well, it's two different scenarios. There's a different tiebreaker scenario when teams are in the same division. In this case, the two teams weren't in the same division, so it was different. It was head-to-head, then it went to conference wins.
Okay.
Darrell has more conference wins than Joe Greco and the Giants.
More wins by forfeit.
No, more wins. The forfeits don't matter. It's more wins. They both had the same amount of forfeit.
Oh, so you're saying in that discussion about wins, there could be forfeits in there. It's how you do in a conference.
It's conference record. Darrell had 8 conference wins. Joe had 7 conference
But
wins.
we're not talking about on the field. We're talking wins
Overall.
on paper. Gotcha.
Even if you take the forfeits, they both had 2 forfeits.
Gotcha.
Conference wins. Both of them had 2 conference wins.
If Will forfeited today to Darrell, that's another forfeit, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's not a conference win. It don't even matter. It don't even go into
non-conference.
It's non-conference. It wouldn't even matter.
You really did him a favor.
He wouldn't matter.
You really did him a favor because on the outside looking in, and we just talked about the Nicholson game, Darrell against Will, on any given day, I go with Will.
I'm a flip a coin. Darrell ain't no slouch. I don't know. He just
nothing against Darrell, but
Right.
I'm saying based on what I've seen, and had that game got played today or tomorrow, and Will won, where would that leave Detroit? That would move Joe.
If they had lost that game,
if Detroit had lost on the field,
right, then that game would have been.
Then Joe would have been in.
Then I think Joe would have been.
Because Darrell would have had by then 8 losses.
No, 7 losses. If he lose to Darrell, Darrell lose to William, that would be 7 losses.
He had 6.
He's got 6 now.
Even after today.
Yeah, both.
Okay.
Giants and Lions both have 6 losses.
So that explains it. You had to go into the NFL rules and look at our
NFL tiebreaker rules. It was it.
Essentially what we did.
Forfeits.
So those are the 6 teams. And now let's talk about the first round playoff scenario. What would that be?
Well, now the matchups, which is kind of strange because these guys played earlier today. Detroit is playing the Bears again. Detroit is traveling to Chicago. Of course, it's going to be here in 2 weeks. The 6 Lions go to the number 3 Bears to play. The 4-5 matchup, the Seattle Seahawks travel into New Orleans to play Young Ephraim. These same teams matched up last year with Jamie blowing the doors off of the Saints. So we'll see. Saints haven't been playing good going the last few weeks. Like I said, they lost to you, they lost to the Giants, and then they picked up a forfeit win. You know, so like I
any
said,
combination of Will, how many losses did he have versus say
Will who?
Travers.
Will Travers.
I mean, Will.
Will's in the AFC. Will Chalmers, yeah, it don't even matter.
I'm trying to think. That was a big game. That Darrell game, by getting that forfeit, that really set the table and really knocked, in my mind, somebody who was really moving up the charts and could have made some noise.
You a couple weeks ago saying Joe's disappointing you. Now you over here crying a song for him. Now
I do. I give him more credit for fighting through and clawing back than for somebody who played well today, but at the same time had a lot of things go in his favor.
Well, one. He had one thing go in his favor. One thing. I mean, he was almost could have won the division. He lost to Healy in overtime.
You're talking about something happened like.
So what?
Week 2, week 3?
Will is working. Will can't make it.
Okay.
So even if Will play him,
That's
beat him.
what I'm getting at.
Will can't even play in the playoffs.
Okay.
So what's your point?
That's what I
What's your
expected.
point?
That's what I expected.
All right.
Okay.
I mean,
so his work commitments, coupled with
Will's not a kid no more. Will's
Right.
an adult now.
Exactly.
He had to make decisions.
Okay.
He wanted to play. He couldn't.
Like
do it.
the AFC, I wish everyone, including Darrell in the NFC, good luck. It's a tough road. You heard that level of competition is going to be there. You got two very good teams, the 1 and 2 seeds, waiting for the outcome of those games.
Cowboys will be looking at
seed,
the lowest seed coming.
So that
forward.
would be.
So who would you take in a playoff game? Darrell versus the Bears. Bears. So that would be the 3 seed.
Right.
So that means the Bears will play the Niners.
Well, we ain't finished yet.
So that don't matter.
4 or 5 plays too. 1.
Right. If the 3
I like Seattle over the Saints.
So that means Seattle will play the Cowboys. Cowboys beat Seattle already this year. And then the Bears versus the Niners in the other matchup division.
Too far ahead to think, but that sounds like how it's going to work out. And
so
again,
so let me say, you got the Lions losing to the Bears and Seahawks beating the Saints.
correct.
Okay.
At
Who you
this
think?
point,
Okay, at this point. Who's going to win? Going to go back to the AFC, folks. I want to get Stack's input on it. Kenny versus Damon.
Damon.
So Damon is your 2nd seed. Kenny is your 3.
Right. So
Okay.
in that
So that means
scenario,
Kenny will play. Norris will play Kenny.
I like Kenny in that one.
Kenny to beat Norris.
Right.
And then in the other one, Baxter versus Ernie.
I like Bax.
Bax.
And then Bax would play Creasy,
Bax will play Creasy.
which would be one for the ages.
Get your tickets.
Get your
Popcorn. Hot popcorn. That would
It
be.
doesn't matter what happens in these next couple of weeks.
What,
As we get closer to the final round of the playoffs, the Final Four, then that's
oh,
when it
it's
really
going to
gets
heat up. Like I say, it's going to get.
But again,
interesting.
my hats go off to everyone that's in. You deserve it. Smoke and mirrors, luck, fortune, whatever. But you persevered. This is the NEFL. It's a long season. Like Corey said, it started in one season.
You know what? I go back.
End
Look,
up,
you're talking about Joe. Going back to Greco. You know what game hurt Joe?
What's that?
The Redskins.
That one really hurt him. He needed that win. Yeah.
Because he beat Ephraim that day earlier, and then all he had to do was beat the Redskins.
And the Redskins finished 9-7.
I know.
And by some magic today, could have leaped in.
Could have, like if Darrell had lost,
Right.
and the Giants had lost again,
Yeah.
then they would all had 7 losses, and that would have brought
The tiebreaker
would have came up. He would have brought him up.
So it shows that you keep fighting to the end.
Right.
You never know what's going to happen.
Play your games. Like I say, it's unfortunate that Darrell didn't play William. Like I say, people say William will probably have the advantage, but right now, I don't know if they're going to play that game tomorrow. Like I said, we got one more day of the NEFL season.
Oh, wait, you say there's still a chance they might play?
I mean, yeah, who knows? I mean, if Will plays him tomorrow, I don't know. I think Will gave him the forfeit, though, so it's really over, basically. It was set up for the day. Darrell had the bowling alley day. It's over.
Oh, okay.
Actually, it's over.
Got you.
Right.
All right, well,
William said he couldn't do it, so.
Whoever would have thought Andrew would be sitting out at this point of the year?
Yeah,
You know?
I mean,
when
we
you're
look
an
at
adult,
Brian Healy. Brian Healy's out. It's teams.
people make choices.
Right.
They're grown-up decisions, grown-up consequences. They're okay with it. Obviously, Healy's still got his mind in the NFL. He's going to be hosting some guys from Detroit staying at his house. And when he says, and coaching staff, and I know how close Brian is with Big Jim Davis.
Ooh, you think it's Jim? You think Hulk is coming to town?
Hulk is coming to town.
Ooh.
Okay, and
For
it's
the
not
playoffs.
it's not surprising because from what I'm hearing, little birdie flew me in the window and said Damon's team looks a lot like something from the Great Lakes League. Some people say it looks a lot like an all-star team from the Great Lakes League.
A Great Lakes All-Star team.
So I know he's got a lot of people pulling for him.
Right.
And we're pulling for him too. We hope he has a safe trip, productive trip, no matter what happens. It was a very good first year freshman campaign for Damon. He's well deserving.
I guess
everyone who's in
newcomer of the year, easy.
And when you see you might see our stat and act Sweet 16 this week. Just remember, that was before
The games played
games today,
today.
and all the things that happened today.
Right.
We're going to come up with another one you'll probably see next week.
Yeah,
and that'll really be
I want to
more.
thank Werewolf for doing that
Absolutely,
for us.
and we'll make sure we get it to you before Wednesday.
Wednesday, right. We'll get them the new one.
There's a copy day. Everything has to be done by today.
Yes. We got a lot of people helping us with this show to keep it rolling. We love doing it, and hopefully you guys enjoy it as much as we love putting it on for you. Stack, want to hold up our little board right there. We had it. The camera was too low. I don't know if
Is
you
it up to
really.
date?
Yeah, it's updated.
It's updated.
That's updated. I mean, you
Wow.
can see it.
Take a look.
Take a look.
Read it and weep.
It's going to be moved into matchups starting next week. But like I say, next week the NFL will take a back seat to his brother's league, the NEFL playoffs and Super Bowl, right here on Sunday. June 21st on Saturday, the big show. You got to be there. June 21st at the Mayfair Rec, formerly known as the Purcell Center. NFL Super Bowl, I think it's 16 or 17. I forget, but it's the big Super Bowl and award ceremony. We give out all the hardware. Going to be a fun time. Again, folks, Corey National Johnson, Edward Smokestack Scott, the Stack Wit Nat Show. Stack, I think we out of here.
Peace.
Peace out.